Hi everyone, this is Louis from Spectora, and I wanted to give a little summary of a recent podcast that Kevin put up over the weekend with some of his and the team's takeaway from the IEB Unite conference that happened last week. IEB is one of the biggest conferences for home inspectors in the country. They do a lot of training and it attracts like really high caliber, high performing home inspection companies. So the things that are being talked about there and discussed, it's always worth sharing with the larger home inspection community. Kevin shared 5 big takeaways from the conference on his podcast, and I wanted to relay what he said on that podcast to our YouTube audience in case you don't listen to the podcast, but you should. Now, the first 2 takeaways that Kevin talked about were sort of broader, more personal, philosophical, but the next 3 after that are a lot more kind of practical, hands-on, tactical advice for business owners. All right, so the first thing Kevin spoke about was that he was really impressed by the keynote address that was given by the IEB co-founder, Dirk van Reenen. And in it, he talked a lot about getting clear on what your personal belief system is. So he said your personal belief system becomes kind of your personal narrative, the lens that you see the world through. And because of that, he had a quote that really stuck with Kevin, which was, the world is gonna reward or punish you based on how you see the world. A couple exercises you could go through is to think about what is your personal narrative around money. Is it good or bad? Is there a lot of abundance of money, or is it something that's really scarce? What's your personal narrative around people? Are they mostly good? Are they mostly bad? And what's your personal narrative around opportunities? Do you see them everywhere? Are they things that should be jumped on? Are they things that you should be cautious about, you should think through? There's no right or wrong answer to any of these, but once you get clear on what your personal beliefs are, it's gonna help you navigate your business and make some of the harder choices easier. At least that's what I think he was getting at. All right, so the second big takeaway was to focus on clarity. Kevin asked, what is the most important thing that you're doing in your business right now? This is something that's really common when business picks up. Home inspectors get busy, and sometimes it feels like we kind of get lost in sort of putting out the fire of the day instead of thinking of what is the most important strategic thing that I can do to advance my business to the next goalpost. Kevin mentioned that he's gonna start budgeting 1 hour every week just to sit down and think deeply and strategically about the business, about personal life, whatever needs to be addressed at the time. Talked about making a priority list with some of your clear goals, things that need to be done. You can organize this priority list from high to low priority, or maybe you can organize it based on time. What's something that you can do this week to move the ball forward? What's something that you can do this month, this quarter? What's a big goal for the year that'll take your business to the next level? Having that sort of narrowed down, defined focus can be really powerful to sort of keep your eye on the prize, keep the ball moving forward. All right, so the third takeaway was that there was a great presentation by Ron and Kat Lamone. They own one of the largest home inspector companies in the country in Texas. It's called RIA, Residential Inspectors of America. Apparently they had a fantastic presentation and they showed the audience that they track almost everything about their business. And they said that anything that is tracked is going to be improved over time. If you're not tracking things, you're just sort of taking a gamble on what your next actions are. Here's some examples of some things they tracked, and they didn't do anything fancy. They didn't have like an enterprise software. They were just using a good old Excel sheet, but Kevin was really impressed by the specificity of the metrics that they were tracking. So they were looking at the percentage of inspections that they booked online versus the phone. They were looking at their average fee per inspection and how that changed every week, as well as the average dollar amount of the upsells that they could get every single week. Number of complaints every week, the number of reviews every week, how many new agents were brought on every week, what agents were their top performers, what were sort of their breakout agents that were rising stars, how many discounts they gave a week, their inspection capacity week to week, how many inspections that they could perform and how that was changing over time based on how many inspectors were working. Fourth big takeaway is that we should all be thinking about our agent acquisition, how we develop better relationships with agents, and how we kind of nurture that pipeline. Remember, agents are people, not prospects. So asking agents questions, connecting with them on a level beyond work, and most importantly, building relationships by connecting face-to-face with agents. All right, so the last one that Kevin was really intrigued by was there was a presentation by the CEO of Greenworks. Her name's Harmony Brown. Greenworks is a really large multi-inspector company in Texas, and one thing that Greenworks is doing is they are really expanding their services beyond just their home inspectors. So they have a large number of home inspectors, but then they have like a handyman division, they have an in-house plumber, they have a pest control service, and they refer all their customers to these services. Now I know what you're thinking, and this is why it was such an interesting presentation, because in the home inspection industry, that's controversial, and depending on what state you live in, it might be illegal. But in this presentation, apparently they took the time to walk everyone in the audience through how they manage the transparency part, how they explain to all the clients who these services are connected with, and what other options they have if they don't want to take advantage of services that are related to their home inspection company. Apparently they've been doing this for several years. There hasn't been any problems yet. They approach it just from a perspective of trying to add maximum value for their customers. Now, the point was not that all home inspectors should start creating their own pest control division. The point is that everyone is anticipating that there is going to be a slowdown in the housing market, and we all need to be asking ourselves, what does my company look like if there's a 20% reduction in inspections? If there's a 50% reduction in inspections? What am I doing to kind of maximize my revenue per inspection? And how am I going to add additional value to customers so that I can get that additional revenue? Kevin closed the podcast by encouraging everyone to sort of look up the state that they live in and read the actual text of the laws about conflict of interest so that they have a really good understanding of where that line is and what they can and cannot do. Thank you for watching. If there's any inspectors that are watching this that were at IEB Unite, I would love to hear some of your big takeaways, things that you left the conference fired up to implement into your business. Thanks everyone. Bye.